For over 2 decades, the Mafia series has delivered some of the most gripping, story-driven crime sagas in video games. It began with a humble Czech development team in the early 2000s, and has since evolved into an international franchise filled with betrayal, power, and revenge. But the journey has not been easy. There were development delays, critical backlash, and even a studio shakeup. And now, as we await the release of Mafia: The Old Country, the series is heading back to where it all began. That's why today, let's talk about Mafia. Our story begins in 2002 with Mafia: The City of Lost Haven, developed by a small Czech team called Illusion Software and directed by Daniel Favara. Illusion Software is best known for games like Hidden and Dangerous and Flying Heroes, founded in the city of Brno in 1997 by Peter Wojciechowska and Jan Kudera. It was comprised of only 5 people, including Peter and Jan, later expanding to about 40 people by the release of Mafia in 2002. Daniel Favara started his career in Illusion Softworks as a graphic artist for Hidden and Dangerous. He went to becoming the lead writer, lead designer, and director of Mafia and Mafia 2, but left the studio in 2009 before releasing it in 2010 due to creative differences. He would later be known to be the lead writer of Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 and 2, and co-founder of Warhorse Studio. Mafia was deeply inspired by classic mob films like Goodfellas and The Godfather. It wasn't just a GTA clone, it was a bold attempt to deliver a grounded, dramatic tale inside a believable 1930s American city. Originally conceived as a police-focused game, but after Favara took over the script, it pivoted halfway through to focus on Tommy Angelo, a taxi driver caught in the violent web of the Salieri crime family. This shift gave the game its identity, a story of morality, loyalty, and consequence. Technically, Mafia pushed boundaries: realistic driving mechanics, fuel limits, traffic laws, and detailed character animations. At the time, these mechanics were groundbreaking. You couldn't just blow through a red light or speed without consequence. The police will actually stop you. The cars were heavy and sluggish, accurately reflecting their 1930s design. The game even had comprehensive damage physics in almost every vehicle, even using real-time deformation. These details immerse players but also cause frustrations as players were not used to any of this. The LS3D engine, while capable, created challenges for the development team. Console ports, especially on the PlayStation 2, suffered from performance issues and severe graphical downgrades. These technical limitations meant that the game had limited exposure in North America, but it became a cult sensation in Europe. Still, Mafia stood out. Its mature themes, cinematic direction, and haunting soundtrack, composed by Vladimir Siminek, made it unforgettable. It was more than a game, it was an interactive gangster film. And for many players, it was their first taste of what video games could do narratively. Eight years passed before the sequel, Mafia 2, announced in 2007. I still remember the trailer and the 2010 gameplay trailer. It was insane, the amount of detail, the art design, the physics, the overall tone of the game. Mafia 2 was a gorgeous game. Released for PC, Xbox 360, and PlayStation 3 in 2010, it brought a significant leap forward in production value. Now under the 2K Czech banner, after Take-Two Interactive had bought Illusion Softworks in 2008 and rebranded it, the team introduced Empire Bay, a sprawling city that blended influences from New York, Chicago, and San Francisco. Snow-covered in the opening chapters, the city transformed with the seasons, reinforcing the sense of time passing as the narrative unfolded. The protagonist, Vito Scaletta, is a Sicilian-American war veteran who returns to a struggling home life. Burdened by his father's debts, he soon reunites with his reckless childhood friend Joey Barbaro, and the two begin climbing the ranks of the mob. Mafia 2 embraces a cinematic format with long, uninterrupted cutscenes, a 3-act structure, and morally complex decisions. It told a story of family, guilt, and ultimately betrayal. But behind the scenes, Mafia 2 faced significant development hurdles. Preliminary work for Mafia 2 began as early as 2004. It was planned to be released for PlayStation 2 and the original Xbox, but it was pushed back for PS3 and Xbox 360, as the game was originally built on an earlier version of the LS3D engine, and the team decided to switch to a new proprietary engine midway development cycle, causing delays and forcing the studio to cut entire chapters and planned features, including multiple endings and additional side missions. Despite the setbacks, the game delivered one of the most cinematic experiences of its time. The soundtrack featured over 100 licensed tracks from the 1940s and 50s, helping to set the mood and ground the story in a specific historical moment. Critics praised the story, visuals, and characters, but also noted that the city felt more like a backdrop than a playground, with few meaningful side activities. In 2016, the series took a bold new direction. Developed by newly formed Hangar 13, Mafia 3 introduces to Lincoln Clay, a black Vietnam veteran in 1968 New Bordeaux. The game's setting was a fictionalized New Orleans, drenched in racial tension, political unrest, and organized crime. It was the first Mafia game to directly engage with real-world social issues, and it did so unapologetically. Mafia 3 was structured differently. Instead of a linear story, players were tasked with taking over districts, recruiting lieutenants, and slowly dismantling the rival Italian mob empire that betrayed Lincoln. It was an ambitious change, but it also led to repetitiveness. Missions became formulaic, and the open world, though rich in detail, lacked the interactivity players expected.
It's freedom. I need you with me on this.
Technical issues surrounded the launch. On PC, the game was initially locked at 30 FPS. Bugs, crashes, and AI glitches were widespread. Despite the issues, critics and players agreed that Lincoln's story, presented through a brilliant Fox documentary structure, was powerful. The performances, especially those of Father James and CIA agent Donovan, added emotional weight and moral complexity. More than any other game in the series, Mafia 3 was political. It didn't just show crime, it examined its causes and consequences. And though its gameplay flaws held it back from greatness, its boldness cemented it as a memorable and important chapter. To honor its roots, Hangar 13 released Mafia Definitive Edition in 2020. More than a remaster, this was a complete rebuild using the same engine used in Mafia 3. Every mission, every line of dialogue, faithfully preserved, but reimagined with modern technology and expanded scripts. The remake didn't just bring visual fidelity, it brought narrative refinement. Characters like Sarah and Detective Norman received more depth, new cutscenes were added, even the infamous racing mission was tweaked to be more balanced. For longtime fans, it was a respectful update. For newcomers, it was a perfect entry point. The remix solidified Tommy Angelo's story as timeless, and showcased how far the franchise had come.
Betrayal burns because it can only come from someone close. An enemy can't hurt you.
Now, after years of speculation, the next chapter is nearly here. Mafia, the Old Country, set in early 1900s Sicily. It's a prequel that explores the roots of the mob. You play as Enzo Favara, a peasant turned criminal, navigating the brutal reality of rural Sicilian life.
The client is feeling less than cooperative and we need to
teach them a lesson.
The game is being built in Unreal Engine 5 and promises a deeply cinematic linear experience. No open world, load, just story. The development team traveled to Sicily to capture real-world architecture, dialects, and history. They've partnered with local developers at Stormmind Games to ensure authenticity.
is an opportunity.
Do you wish to commit to this family?
Unlike previous entries, the Old Country is expected to lean heavily into stealth, survival, and environmental storytelling. With its historical lens, it may explore themes like immigration, family honor, and the early rise of organized crime as a means of survival, not just power. With a focus on heritage, power, and sacrifice, the Old Country is shaping up to be the most personal and atmospheric Mafia game yet. It's a return to what this series does best, telling human stories in the shadows of organized crime.
And who are you, Enzo?
Obedience.
The Mafia series has never been about power fantasies. It's about choices, consequences, and the cost of ambition. From the streets of Lost Haven to the mines of Sicily, each game reflects the era it portrays. As the Old Country approaches, fans, old and new, have a chance to experience something rare, a historical crime drama that values depth over spectacle. And perhaps that's exactly what gaming needs right now. Thank you so much for watching. Which Mafia game is your favorite? Are you excited for the Old Country? Drop your thoughts below and don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more videos like this.